Habibi for Hodier Black family, race first. Hotep, what's up? What's going on, everyone? Get that out the background. Welcome back to another session here at the School of Urban Philosophy, where we're always straight up, straightforward, and straight to the point. As you're coming on, please share the video, come in the building. Let's get as many people in the building as possible. We're going to go in tonight. I see we got some new people in the house. My brother Akande, as always, my brothers, peace and blessings. Habibi for Hodier, a black man. Continue to do the work. It's not in vain. I see the work. Continue to do the work. There's a lot that we need to get into. There's a lot that we need to unpack as a people. Hotep, Safo. Yeah, I'm feeling better, man. I'm feeling better, Safo. Feeling better. You know, yes, I had, I believe I missed 2 Thursdays. Yes, missed 2 Thursdays. I had to recover and recuperate and, recalibrate a little bit, but I'm back. I've been looking forward to coming back, just being with the family, going in and having some real live conversation and discussion. We need to do that. People for Hodier, go people for Hodier. Glad you could join us tonight. We're going to get it in, man. We are going to get it in. I might be coming from my new book a little bit, Scientific Pan-Africanism. And I think I'm going to go a little bit inside this NOMO. If you don't have this NOMO, please get this NOMO. It's a very powerful book. It's a very powerful book. So let's recap a little bit. Man, the black man and the black woman in the world today, we are living in a state of urgency. And I'm using urgency as something beyond emergency. I'm saying that we are past the stage of emergency. I'm saying there's an urgency for us to get right. And part of getting right is going to require of us to do some serious self-reflecting, because we got to get past some things, man. We allow ourselves to become so bogged down with things that shouldn't be bogging us down, man. Like, we really looking at the world today, man. For those of us who are here in the United States of America, like, the conditions are bad. The conditions are bad. And because the conditions are bad, that should be a sign. That should be an indication to us. We should be focusing on what's happening and trying to figure out how to move forward. And it's not always about trying to figure out how much money we can get individually. Because all the time that becomes the distraction for a lot of our people. Everybody is trying to, get rich. And the reality is that capitalism is not designed for everybody to get rich. It's based on exploitation. Like, everybody is not going to get rich. Everybody is not going to get rich. However, the thing that trips us up as a people is that everybody is attempting to be the one. And so we are all attempting to be the one. We are stepping on one another. We are clipping one another. We are pushing either one another to the side. We are undercutting one another because each are trying to be the one, in a delusional way. We're trying to be the one. No, capitalism requires, it requires a class of individuals to be exploited. It requires that. It requires that. And that's gonna be here as long as capitalism exists. So the better thing to do is for us to think of a more natural way of living as a people and how to move forward. We got to really truly assess the nature of the society we live in, and we got to do things differently. We have to do things differently. Now, a lot of us can sit back and we can act as if things are okay. We can think and delude ourselves into believing we have money. Man, I'm making 6 figures, and we can tell ourselves all these lies, but at the end of the day, like, African people throughout the world, man, are being exploited throughout the world. And this exploitation has persisted for a very long time. For a very long time. So we have to do some serious soul searching, uh, individually and collectively. We have to look at who we are and what we have become. Who we are and what we have become. Ilewa Jabali, my brother. Bibi Fahodie, good to see you in the building. For those of you who just tuned in, man, if you can share the video, make sure you put your likes in there. Get those likes in. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Get your likes in. Share the video. It's very important that we do that. It's very important for us to get the content out. This thing, what we're trying to build here, we're trying to build this thing together. It's called reciprocity. We're working together, just as much as you guys may look forward to me coming on here, doing what I do. I look forward to you guys coming on here and being a part of this process. And the way that you are part of this process is just by liking the video, sharing the video, and subscribing. Encouraging others to subscribe, encouraging others to watch the videos and like the videos. That's simple. Those are simple things. Those are simple things that we all can do because we all say we want change. We always say we want change. We want this, we want this, we want that. But when it comes to doing some of the most basic things, we kind of struggle as a people to get us to do the basic things, right? To like the video, to share the video, and to subscribe. To ask others to like the video and share the video and to subscribe doesn't require nothing. It's, it's real easy to do. So that's what I'm asking of you guys, man. Let's build this thing out. Let's take advantage of this opportunity that is on the horizon. This social, political, and economic climate that we are living in the year 25 and beyond is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for Black people to make significant advancements and growth towards sovereignty and liberation. We're in a nice window, man. A very nice window. If we can really understand the true social, political, and economic implications of what's going on, if we can really get past our personal stuff and really tune in and really see what's really happening right now, we can see that we have an opportunity to really do some serious work. Get out the habit of always infighting and just consistently over critiquing us and over pathologizing Black people, man. We got to get out that. That's not what it's about. So yes, we all had a few bad experiences here or there, but everything we say and do can't be a critique of us. It cannot be a critique of us because we are great. Even in the midst of all of this mess, we are great. And if we cannot grasp that essential fact about who we are, we will continue to struggle. And that's what it's about, self-knowledge. But you can't have self-knowledge if your perception of your people is always a negative perception. It's always this over critique of what they haven't done, what they don't have, what they can't do, what they haven't done, or where they're not going at. If that's all you can do is critique that, we got to do better than that. We must do better than that. We must do better than that. We have to develop, a sense of beingness in relation to our people, right? And we have to understand that certain elements of Black people do not represent the majority of Black people. We got to understand that. Yeah, you got some elements here or there that don't represent us as a whole. And we got to understand that who we are and where we come from. And we got to work towards developing, an accurate assessment of us in totality. Now, having said that, it doesn't mean that I'm not aware of some of the things that we do that we should not be doing. I'm aware of those things. It doesn't mean that I'm naive to the fact that we can, at times, some of us, not all of us, but some of us, we can work against our own best interests. I'm not naive. I'm clear about that as well. You know, some of us have aligned ourselves with the enemy. I'm clear about that. But those people don't represent the majority, because I don't fall into that bracket, and I know a lot of other individuals who don't fall into those brackets. I know some really, really good men and women that's doing great work. So I tend to assess us according to the best that we are, because I'm looking for the best. So my assessment is always based on the best of us. You know, what the best of us are doing. How is the best of us thinking? That's what it comes down to. I see we got Abibi Fahodier, Brother Sakati, Abibi Fahodier, Brother Craig, Abibi Fahodier, Sister Zenzi. Great to see you guys in the building. If you have not liked the video, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed, share the video if you have not shared the video. Please do that. Be very intentional along with me as we go forward and as we digging into this thing. You know, we're talking about the survival of Black people, the urgency of Black people in terms of rectifying the conditions that we are confronted with. You know, so what are the solutions? Because that's what people always say, man. They say, well, what are the solutions, Baba? You know, what are some solutions to what we're dealing with? And I like to tell people this. There is no simple solution to a 4-century-old complex problem, right? And I'm being conservative with the 4th century, right? There's no simple solution to a 4th-century-old complex problem. Like this thing we're dealing with, this thing is, it's a social mess, a political mess, an economic mess, a cultural disorientated mess, a spiritual bankruptcy, a psychological, you know what I'm saying, instability. So this thing is deep. So there's no single solution, because they gotta, you know, it have to be a comprehensive solution. You have to address the social ills that we deal with, because the social ills impact everything else. When you think about it, you know, the distrustfulness, the paranoia we got towards one another, the cynicism that we have, you know, the distrust, you know, the disbelief, you know, all of that's a bunch of social stuff. The breakdown of the Black man and the Black woman in relationships, the breakdown of the Black family, the breakdown between the mother and the daughter, the breakdown between the father and the children, the breakdown between the all that is social. You know what I'm saying? The miseducation, all that is social stuff. And all that have to be addressed, right? And then we talk about the political stuff, you know what I'm saying? The lack of nationalism, the disinterest we have in what's taking place with us. All that is political. You know what I'm saying? The backwardness in terms of the policies, the backwardness in terms of the political apparatus that currently governs us as a people. You know what I'm saying? We're totally disenchanted from that. We're disenfranchised from that. We don't understand what's happening. You know, that's, you know, all that is, that's political stuff. So that has to be addressed. The social stuff has to be addressed. The economic stuff has to be addressed. Because a lot of times people think that the answer is right there. And most people think that economics means money. So a lot of times when people talk about economics, they really talk about money. We don't even understand that economics, you know, money or the exchange currency, like the exchange currency is a component within a larger thing that's known as an economic system. Like that exchange currency is just a function within it. It don't define it. But a lot of times we take economic, we talking about money. So we think money, the acquisition of money is going to solve the problem. But if we really sit back and you step and see, you know, it's not going to change the problem. Why? Because we got a lot of Black people that got a lot of money. So if another black millionaire is made tomorrow, do our situation change? No, because that black millionaire, what he or she is going to do is take his or her seat amongst the other black elites who have been allowed to get $1 million. And they're going to sit apart from the larger community, and they're going to feel as if they have made it or have arrived, and watch the majority of the community to still be exploited. So, and then the next day, if another black multi-millionaire is made, the situation doesn't change. If you made 100 black millionaires tomorrow, the situation doesn't change. If you made 10 black billionaires tomorrow, our situation doesn't change, because it's not money. It's a whole economic system. It's a whole structure that has to be changed. We don't govern the economic system that regulates our lives. Simple as that. Yes, some people will make money, no doubt, because it's capitalism. It's designed to do that. It's designed to create classes and frictions and fractures within society. Because as long as we can create levels of people who feel like they have more than other levels of people, we can control that society. As long as we can say you are better than them because you have more than them, and because you have more than them, we're going to create a space in society that you can go to that they can't go. Like on an airplane, first class. You just a couple seats in front of everybody else with some daggone cloth to block you off. But the fact that we can call it first class and do a little bit of more things up there for you, you feel like you're better off than those of us that's not sitting in first class. The games that they play in this society, but in this type of this structure that these white folks have created in the world today. And too many of our people, we follow along. Too many of us follow along. It's like when we came, looking at the 1957, 1958, 1959, 1960, the year of African explosion, they call it, when you started seeing the African states, societies coming into some form of independence. But what did we do? We took on European structures of government. And that's how neocolonialism was able to just set right back in there. Right? We didn't step into our own and erect, African ideals and concepts of governance. No, we replicated theirs. So the continent is still being raped and robbed. Granted, we got the brothers that's over there doing what they're doing in, Nigeria and with the Burkina Faso, and I believe it's is it Mali probably? But those over there, the ones that's over there that's coming into their own and trying to build, they're moving, they're doing some things, but outside of that, for the most part, we stepped into their stuff. We got to understand, man, that we gave the world its first concept of governance. The first concept of governance come from us. And I'm using governance in a context that's different from what we typically understand as government, because that is the problem. Like their words and terms become the definitions that we use, and we think that these definitions are universally applied. So I'm not speaking of government in the traditional sense that you may know. I'm saying governance, right? But I'm speaking more so from an African point of view of how we govern ourselves. And we govern ourselves in a type of environment where things were based prior to those Islamic people coming in, because oftentimes they get a pass. They get a pass, man. Oftentimes, because a lot of us don't know the history that deep. So we think that, the Europeans were the only ones who came in. No. Before them Europeans got there in the capacity that they came, you had the Islamic people there. And they became to distort and disrupt a lot of our traditional and original systems. They brought a lot of their stuff in there. You know what I'm saying? The castrating the men, the Arabs brought that in. A lot of time we leave that out. But granted, that stuff is there. A lot of time we think this out. No, they brought them to do the history. Don't take Bob and Motep's word for it. Do the history. You can see where it came in and who it came in there with. That's not us. That's not us. That's them. That's not the whole concept of chattel enslavement, in Africa is brought in with the Arabs. That's not us. When you do your history, there is no evidence of African people developing on the African continent systems of chattel enslavement where people was treated as property and sold as property before the Arabs and the Europeans got there. There is no evidence. And no one can go and say that existed. No one can say that existed. No one. No evidence of that. So a lot of times we start talking about, black people, African woes and slavery. We gotta qualify that, man, the correct way, because when we don't break it down correctly, we can inadvertently send a wrong message. Now, yes, at some point, about years and decades in, did some black people, begin to partake in that? Yes, after they've been grafted through their systems and educational systems and inducted into their thinking, yes. Like today. That's not us. I mean, that's not like that was an African system that said, hey, we're going to just raid each other and enslave each other, then sell each other to Europeans. That's not an African system. You know what I'm saying? That's not us. So we got to be real clear about when we talk about that. So we making it clear that the system, the practice, is a foreign practice that's brought into Africa. It's not something that originates from Africa. It's not us. So this is the level of the studying that we have to do. So when we understand it that way, we can stop asking the question like, well, did African people sell their own people? Just do the research and you can see. Just do the research. It's like that question is like saying like, man, did black people sell drugs to black people? Yes, we know they did. Yes. You know what I'm saying? But did we originate it? No. Did we take it on at some point? Yes. Huh? You know what I'm saying? When people get indoctrinated, they do almost anything. That's not hard to do. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like, you know what I'm saying, that black people just say, hey, man, we want to be Islamic. You know what I'm saying? We want to learn. Islam came into Africa, man, swinging a sword. It came in that very aggressive and violent. North Africa, making its way down through West Africa and places like that. So yes, it happened. It penetrated, and we picked up some of their ways. Same way we had picked up some of the European ways. So that's why when we're studying the history of Africa and the culture, it's very important to have someone that's well versed in the history and the culture that can get you past the Islamic layer and the European layer to get you to the African layer. Because there's a lot of stuff that's in Africa that's not African, even though it's been there for a very long time, but it's not African. It's foreign to us. But when we don't know, we just pick it up and we perpetuate it. Sometimes we do it intentionally, and sometimes it's done unintentionally. But my role, well, at least one of my roles here in the material world is to bring forth the truth about our people in relation to all other peoples. In relation to all other people. So I'm going to always tell the truth when it comes to us. I'm not letting no one off the hook. I'm not going to sit up here and say, well, those Indians from India, there's a lot of them that's in Ethiopia and in South Africa, was always, quote unquote, friendly towards African people. They were not. They were violent too, And even when Gandhi, that everyone always want to talk about Gandhi, even Gandhi, he had nothing good to say about us. He was quote unquote peaceful dude, they say, this non-violent dude. Do you know that violence is also verbal? That's violent, So if I got something negative to say about a person, that's me exercising a form of violence against that person. But yet, this non-violent individual, he had nothing good to say about us. You know what I'm saying? Called us kafirs. So that's the equivalent of a quote unquote nigger, if you will. So, man, we gotta get ourselves together. We gotta get us together. And part of getting us together is that we gotta get past some stuff, man. We gotta get past some stuff. We can't keep holding on to stuff, man, that happened to us 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, or my mommy ain't hugged me enough. Mommy didn't kiss me enough. Daddy wasn't, my father wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Get over it at this point, And if you have not got over it at this point, because someone might say, well, Bob, it's not that easy. So let me be more clear about what I'm saying. If you have not gotten over it at this point, then my suggestion is that you go get professional help. Move through it. Work on it. And I would also add, from my personal experience, one of the things that I know that will help anyone is a healthy dose of African history and culture. If you really immerse yourself in our stuff, it will help you get better. I'm not telling you this because I'm romanticizing Africa. I'm not telling you this because I'm sensationalizing Africa. I'm speaking from experience, not just my personal experience, but other people that I have introduced to the history and the culture the correct way and work with over time and watch those individuals get better and heal. So I'm telling you from experience, if you want to move on past some of these things that didn't, impact you well in your childhood, get into the culture. Learn the culture. Learn the practices. Be the culture. And I can guarantee you that you will get better. You will get better. But we got to be serious, though. We got to be serious. So once again, at the half point mark, urgency as something beyond emergency. The year 2025 is it's an interesting year. 2026, 2027, gonna be some interesting years, Black man and Black woman. This year in Baltimore City, the last week of September 26th, September 27th, September 28th, here in Baltimore City, 1505 Utah Place, the National Race First Convention is happening. The National Race First Convention is happening. If you're interested in trying to figure out how you can get involved, help out, please reach out to me, contact me. Like I said early on, we want a lot of things to happen, but we got to be willing to aid these things and help out. It don't take a lot. It don't take a lot. But this convention is not a small feat. This convention is huge. We got quite a few elders that's confirmed to be in attendance. Mama Marema Ani is confirmed. She will be in attendance. Baba Baruti is confirmed. He will be in attendance. Baba Senghor out of Washington, D.C. is confirmed. These are all elders, are confirmed. He will be in attendance. Baba MZ, confirmed. He will be in attendance. We have Baba Khalil Bey from the Black Awakening Movement. He's confirmed. He will be in attendance. We have Baba Nkili Nkrumah, President General of the UNIA ACL RC 2020 Division, going to be in attendance. Those elders there are confirmed, but there are going to be many others and many different other organizations that's going to be present as well. So this convention is going to be something that's going to be very important to the history of Black people. So that's why I'm asking everybody that I'm connected to support it. Help me out. Help me do the work. Help me do the work. There's this thing in our culture called, it's reciprocity. It's very simple. It's a very simple principle. Reciprocity. Because when you're pulling off these major events like this, a 3-day event, that's not cheap. And I like to let everybody know, even though it's no cost to anyone to get in, that doesn't mean that it's a free event. It's not free. A lot of behind the scenes finances will be expended to make it happen. But it's most definitely no cost to anyone who's attending, because we want you in attendance and we want the organizations to be in attendance. Yeah, we got Brother General Tashaka out of DC. The street law soldiers, they're gonna be in the house. We got the UNIA Baltimore gonna be in the house. Yeah, man, it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be a good thing. And by huge, I mean impactful. I'm not necessarily focused on the amount of people, because the amount of people don't account for anything. It's gonna be huge in the sense that it's gonna be impactful. We're gonna get some work done. And that's what it's about, getting some real work done. And that won't be the last. That's just the beginning. That's not the last of the gatherings that's going to occur. It's just the beginning. Once again, so as always, so I just put my Cash App in the chat, just in case somebody out there, want to be generous and help in this regard. If not, no worries. But could always use your assistance to do the work, my brothers and sisters. Always use your assistance to do the work. So I want to put a question to the floor though, because I want the chat to get a little live for a few. I want to put something to the floor. If you had to choose one thing that you said was a major issue that Black people need to resolve, just one thing. I don't want a whole sentence. I don't want a line of things. I want you to just provide me one thing, one issue that you think is the primary issue that Black people should seek to resolve. I want to see what you say. So work with me here, y'all. Don't be quiet. Let me hear your answers. See what we're working with. Don't keep me waiting too long. So my sister Nikki Lee Nova is in the house, y'all. She says self-hate. Asafo said African-centered education. Young Cody says our psychology. Ifa Benga says cultural misorientation. Sakati said trusting one another. Wow. Y'all see that? See all those things we came up with, man? Look at that. Self-hate. African-centered education. Our psychology. Trusting one another. Cultural misorientation. Now, this is my question. Based on all the things that you guys put here, my second question is this. Are those things related? Yes or no? Are they related? Self-hate, African-centered education, are they related? Sister Nikki say indeed. Ifa Benga say yes. Cody say yes. Asafo say absolutely. Okay. Now we're thinking, right? So if all of those things are related, which one of those things, and it may not be one of those things, what's the root? Like, what's the core issue that the rest of them spring forth from? What's the core issue that the rest of them spring from? Put them thinking caps on. Safo say white thought. Safo been studying. It says oppression. A well-defined, evidence-based method on how to do just about everything. Not knowing who we are. Yes. Okay. All right. So, because that's how I want us to, I ask the questions that way because I want us to think about it that way. I want us to look for core issues. So I believe they all spring from the hate that was ingrained in us from, as Asafo stated, white thought. Okay. Centuries of attack by non-Africans. Okay. Cool. All right. Now, all the answers that were provided were great answers. But what I want us to think about is always think about the correlation. Because sometimes we can be saying the same thing. 2,000 years of defeat. Explain 2,000 years of defeat. Because I'm not sure if you came in on I'm just trying to make sure you with us, with the question. That's all. So I can, that's all. That's what I'm just trying to make sure. Because I know sometimes you be there for a while before you show up. So I don't know if you just came in or you there with us, from the beginning. So pretty much. But I want us to think of everything as interrelated. I don't want us to see things as being broken up. And I don't want us to think that one doesn't have a relation to the other. Everything's coming from the education culture or the lack thereof. Okay. But as long as we understand that these things are relatable and these things link together, that we can begin to start, because it has to start with each individual. We start with ourselves, and then for me, I think that the next stage is at the self is really trying to be a part of some type of serious organization. Even if that organization is you building your family, the destruction of Black Africa began at least 2,000 years ago. We've been in perpetual survival mode as a people since the invasion first began. Okay, cool. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. I'm more so trying to just get us the zero in on most of the things that we talk about. Oftentimes are all relatable. They're not necessarily different from the other. Now, some of us may be more passionate about the thing that we believe, but when we really step back and look at the things that was listed, they all link together. And so since they all link together, it's very important that we think about them relational. We think about them relational by looking at ourselves. Because oftentimes a mistake that's made that I've noticed is that we can project out more than we reflect within. We can project out more than we reflect within, meaning that we can look out and consistently find problems with us as a people. And very rarely do we reflect upon ourselves to look at ourselves to see where we are at. And I think my process is always trying to look at myself to see where I'm at, because I think the better we understand us, the better it is to understand what's happening outside yourselves. You understand your people more, a whole lot more, and I think through that understanding, it allows us to get to places where we can begin to build things. We struggle with building things because there's so many personal issues that have not been dealt with inside of ourselves. Case in point, we speak about the distrust, but sometimes we carry the distrust. We speak about the miseducation. Sometimes we carry the miseducation. We speak about the self-hatred. Sometimes we are the carrier of self-hatred, but we oftentimes project out and always assess everything that's external to ourselves. But what I'm submitting to us tonight, and it may not apply to everyone, but I'm submitting this to us tonight, is that rather than always projecting out and making an outward assessment, is we stop and pause and exercise an internal reflection. Is my psychology as stable as it should be? Am I more on the path of African-centered education as I should be? Have I defeated the self-hatred? Am I above the distrust? Right? This is what I'm submitting that we do. When we run ourselves through that type of self-reflecting and introspective process, it aids us to become stronger and better in our collective stance. Our collective stance is oftentimes jeopardized because there's some internal stuff and personal stuff that's unresolved within us. So it has to be a search for self-knowledge, self-reclamation, self-restoration, the restoring of the self. And that requires attention. That requires attention. We have to be willing to give ourselves some attention to do that. By attention, I mean to actively identify and work on those aspects of ourselves that we can honestly admit are not healthy. To not always present ourselves more self-reflection, less projection. Yes, sir. We don't always want to present ourselves as if we have arrived. And that could happen sometimes. And it can happen sometimes as people do it intentionally. But there are some people who it happened to very unintentionally. And it happens unintentionally because we're not instructed to consistently reflect upon ourselves, to work on ourselves. We just told, man, get knowledge, self-knowledge, read books. And a lot of times you can read books, you can learn things, and before you know it, all you do is look out. Because you read so much. Your analysis is on point. You got the best analysis. But there's so many other stuff that's going on inside you that's unaddressed. Like you struggle to maintain relationships with other people because you always conflictual. Right? That's a psychological problem. That's psychological. But you got sharp analysis and information. You got intellect. So that's what I'm trying to tell. So that's why I'm submitting that we gotta look at us. We gotta reflect upon us and see what's going on with us. We gotta be the ones that we're looking at first. And and unfortunately, we gotta do it simultaneous. Man in the mirror. Yes, but see, the reason I don't say man in the mirror, because that's a cliche that's not really understood, right? It's a cliche that's more intellectualized than psychologically processed. Because everybody says man in the mirror, but they really don't deal with the man in the mirror. They don't really deal with the man in the mirror. Many of us mask a lot of these character defects that we have is masked behind intellect. And so what I'm submitting to us, yes, man in the mirror, yes, but not the traditional understanding of man in the mirror. Man in the mirror from the point of view of the psychological self-evaluation, right? And that's not easy to do for everybody. Some people can't do this by themselves. Some people require other people. I get case in point, man. I remember when I first started studying Malcolm X in the early 1990s. I think 1993. So I was reading Malcolm X, and it was and he was talking about one of the time. It was a time when he had first started coming into knowledge. One of the things he began to do is, I think, during this time period, I believe he started writing certain politicians, and he was like, "What he coming at the politicians?" He was like coming hard in his letters, and he shared that with Elijah Muhammad in an effort for Elijah Muhammad to give him some type of congratulatory, approval, right? But Elijah chastised Malcolm for it. He chastised Malcolm and told him he shouldn't have did this, not what to do. Initially, Malcolm didn't grasp that and didn't feel okay with it. Because Malcolm is a student, a growing, learning, evolving human being, he understood the process of being reflective. So when he left from Elijah and he went home or wherever he went, he reflected upon what Elijah Muhammad said, thought about it. And then he returned to Elijah. I can't say when he came back, but he returned to Elijah with a conversation. And what he told Elijah was this. And that, relative to that there, he apologized to Elijah Muhammad for being a little upset and mad and not necessarily receiving, the accountability when it was coming down. He said, I apologize for that. He said, it took me to realize that in some instances, some people are better qualified to assess the psyche of an oppressed people than the oppressed person, him or herself. And I find that to be a truth myself. People that's in it oftentimes don't have the tools to look at themselves. You have to develop that. But you do got some rare individuals walking around who can do it, but not everybody. Everybody can't do it. And that's the reason why when we look at our culture, in our culture, the correct culture, we always see skilled people assisting other people to come into higher forms of knowledge, awareness, and growth and development. That's across the continent. Because even our ancestors recognize that we do need gods. We need gods. And because you have a God, it doesn't mean that you're less than. And so I'm submitting all that shit tonight because some of us may not be what I'm suggesting that we need to be doing. And if you know you're not that individual, then you have to connect with the God. You got to connect with somebody who you know that's more qualified than you, that's right in his or her character, that you've seen and you've watched and you know that this person is doing and living the right way. Then that's the person you build with, so that person can become your reflection to help you go to those other levels, to help you peel back those other layers. Because there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having such an individual. We use many different names for these people. Someone might say, well, they might say Saber, a Jegna, Babalawo, Iya, might say, I'm not going to use that the French term, the Jaylee Moose. We got different terms for these types of people, that we use. And in PLM, we say TM2, spirit person. For us as a spirit person, we have to connect. Like, we have to be actively and consistently engaged in self-development while simultaneously fighting to get out these conditions. That's the uniqueness of who we are. We got to do two things simultaneously. We got to fight all this mess, however we choose to fight it. We got to be engaged in that process while at the same time engaged in the process to become better men and women. Not easy to do. Not easy to do, but doable nonetheless. And we have to go at it that way. We have to think about we talk about self-hatred. We have to really examine that. Like, really, what is that is? Like, what is the core of that? What is the root of this thing that we might describe as being self-hatred? What is the root of that? That's years of indoctrination into the mindset that you are less than, that you are nothing, that you are valueless. Years of that. And that nothingness or that valuelessness or that inferiorization is embedded in everything around you. It's in the music, it's in the movies, it's in the billboards, it's in the curriculum, it's in the religions. Everything tells you, literally, symbolically, and metaphorically, that you are nothing. And then at some point you wake up and you believe it. And you just believe it. And then everything that looks like you is also viewed as being nothingness, valueless, inferior. So you strive to escape the unescapable, your blackness, You strive hard to escape the unescapable, your blackness. So you go out your way to destroy everything black. Everything that derives from it, you destroy it, you talk down on it. It's no good because you have been convinced that black is no good. You are no good. You derive from no good. Africa is no good. All these systematic, crafted lies have taken root. And when they take root, and to the degree that self-hatred sets in, you are talking about a psychological problem. But it's so deeply rooted because it's real. It is a real thing. It is so deeply rooted that it has went beyond the psychology. It is now a spiritual thing. And in the words of Dr. Wade Noble, he say the spirit of black people have been tainted, have been tainted. That's that self-hatred that you're talking about. And that hatred is linked to that distrustfulness, right? Why? Because we don't believe in the capacity of black truthfulness. The black person must, by necessity, be a liar, be a crook and a thief. That's the belief. So because of this, I gotta watch you very suspiciously, which is by design. Because as long as I watch you so suspiciously, you and I, we're never going to unite or get together on anything, right? Which is by design, which is linked to the miseducation that came up, right? The miseducation plays a part in creating the indoctrination. The indoctrination in the sense of the negative view of self, the poor view of who you are. So we have to revamp some things by what? We have to change the narrative. And by change the narrative, I don't mean make up a lie. I don't mean falsify anything. By change the narrative, I mean we have to replace this white narrative with nothing but an authentic black narrative. And the only way that can be done, you got to know the black narrative. You got to know it. You can't make it up. You can't wish it. You can't hope it. Excuse me. You have to know it. You have to be in that process of knowing it. You have to be plugged into groups of people, systems, or processes that's going to help you come to understand it. Studying is the only way. We can't avoid that. And you can't always rely on this fast-paced society that we're in. Now everybody wants Nook books and e-books and audio books. No, get you a real book, a hard book. Get a book and read the book. You know what I'm saying? That's what you got to do. Get a book. Get the books. Like, get out and go buy the books again. That's what we got to do. Got to buy books. You got to invest in you, man. You got to invest in you. You can't treat you so cheaply. Every black man and black woman should have a profound library that they have put to use to demonstrate and validate their transformation. Every black man, every black home should have a functional library. There's no way you should have a black home and you don't have a library. You can't say, well, I got these books, I got e-books and notebooks. No, you need books. Because the internet can be shut down at any time. That can be shut off. These computers can go out on you. They're not guaranteed to last. We need to do some real serious reading, some hardcore research, man, and building ourselves. My brother Black, meaning African, listen up, man. This is my man right here. He keeps some type of profound question for me. He said, do we give truth to any and all black people, or do we build trust over time? And how do we deal with folk who actually violate our trust? That's a great question. Some of those questions I will not answer online, but I understand the point of those questions. But to try to answer some of that, no, I'm not. Because I'm on here, and granted, most people can come on here and listen to me. Yeah, so they're gonna hear me. But am I out there in the streets trying to go to every person and give them? No, that's not what I'm trying to do, and that's not even what I'm implying. No, I think that case in point, like everybody can never be a part of PLM, right? And I don't think anybody that's building anything should be open to everybody. I think everybody should always qualify and meet the criteria. Every person that's Black do not meet the criteria. So no to that question there. The answer is no. Do we build trust over time? Yes, trust is built over time, but trust also must be engaged. You know what I'm saying? It's built over time, but we have to be willing to engage each other over time to build the trust. We can't remain strangers over time wanting to build trust. Like trust requires of us to use our discernment to know we're dealing with a good person. Like I know when I'm dealing with a good person, right? And so because I know I'm dealing with a good person through discernment, then I'm willing to call you, text you, answer your call you back, come see you. I'm willing to invest in the process to build the trust, right? So we got to exercise discernment. And we can't all stay in office because we haven't got time. We only want to get time in when we invest in time. That's it. We're not going to get through time. We don't invest in it. And that investment is going to come from discernment. Every person that I meet, they don't get my time. They don't qualify for my time. So the way I work, they're going to find out they're going to occupy a different space in my mind. Every person that I meet, I'm not going to text. I'm not going to call. They don't qualify because I know I'm here on earth to serve a purpose, to fulfill a mission. And some people get in the way of that mission. But the people who I do encounter, the ones who are genuine and sincere, when I know you're genuine and sincere through discernment, I will invest time in you so you and I can get through time to build what needs to be built. So that's your second question. And how do we deal with the folks who violate? We know how to deal with those who violate. You know, each group would have a different process for that. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, that's a consequence of violation, though. No doubt. I appreciate the questions, and I hope I gave you some good answers, my brother. I really do. I always strive to give you some good answers. Sister, yes, using discernment, my sister. We got to use discernment. You know, I can't approach you from the position that you are against me. I can't approach you from that position. I have to approach you based on what you have demonstrated towards me. And then I have to be in your space a little bit so I can exercise my discernment to hear you, to feel your energy and your vibe, right? Because energy don't lie. The vibes don't lie. They are real, you know, and once I assess what I need to assess and exercise my discernment, I know as to whether or not I can come in further or I stand away. You know what I'm saying? So we got to do that, though. You know, this is the work. We can't say we're in the business of helping our people and we shy away from engaging the people. Like that doesn't work that way. Like there is no society in human history that set out to advance that society, but yet did not engage the people within that society. It can't happen. You got to engage people. And those of us who set out to do the work of helping our people, we run the greatest risk. Yes, we run a major risk, man, to help your people. So we're going to run the risk. But through discernment, I think everything can work out for us. In some situations, you know, some people just not going to be ready for you where you at, you know, and y'all gonna have to reassess your relationship. Some people are not ready to be serious. You know, they like you, they like your information, they like how you talk, they like how you carry yourself, but they're not ready for your seriousness. And once you realize that person isn't ready for your seriousness, all you got to do is recalibrate the relationship. You know, you don't got to throw that person away, but you got to recalibrate because that person ain't ready for your seriousness. You got to shift to somebody else that's ready for your seriousness. And that's how I am. I only want to deal with the sincere and the serious people. That's it. You know, those are the ones I want to deal with. I talk to all my people for the most part. Those of us that's not, you know, confused. I talk to us, I engage us, but doing the work, I only want the serious people. Appreciate it. Even using discernment takes time. I've learned to have a set of core values that non-negotiable. If the individual does not meet those standards, we keep them at a distance. That's cool. That's discernment, though. So I agree with that. You know, we all gonna exercise it, and we all should have it. You know, but we have to be. My only point that I was trying to stress is that we gotta engage each other. You know, we have to engage each other. And when we do that, it allows us to see these other things. Sometimes we don't even engage each other. You know, I noticed that a lot. We got brothers and sisters, man, we don't even engage each other. We got relationships, man, that just fall apart because no one is willing to invest in it, and we can't be like that. And it's not always because either of the people were bad people. You know what I'm saying? We just didn't understand the process of relationship building. Like, that's another skill that I think we have to work on. What is it like to build relationships? I've watched good people on both sides who just watch relationships fall apart. They say, well, I'm too busy, I'm too this, that, and other. No one is engaging it, I'm saying, at all. I'm saying? No energy is put into it, and I just think that from my experience, that comes from, in some instances, from people just not knowing how to build the relationship. But so it's now 10:01. Yes, and no more. Yes, it's a good acknowledgement, my sister. Appreciate that. It's now 10:01. As always, Black man and Black woman. I appreciate each and every one of you for just being here with me tonight. I always appreciate those of you who engage, in the chat box. I missed two Thursdays, so most definitely we back on again next Thursday, same time, same place, where we always straight up, straightforward, and straight to the point. Urban philosophy. I'm gonna always stay true to yourself. Stay true to yourself. Stay true to yourself, and always, I don't care where you at and what you think you know and how good you think you are. Always exercise internal self-reflection and introspection. Get better, always get better. Peace and blessings. A beautiful day.